What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with a big old juicy Destiny 2 update, and it's been a pretty busy week, hasn't it? Lots of conversation about trials and a bit of conversation about Season of the Worthy, but we're jumping in again with some news roundups and new details about Season of the Worthy content. We're going to talk new titles, DLC quests, Reprise Weapons, and a couple of loot table updates. But on top of this, we have some clarification about trials, new artifacts, and Bungie Roundups, but we're also going to talk about some potentially significant story beats and secrets for Season 10 as well. So guys, if you do enjoy the video, feel free to drop us a rating down below, but otherwise, let's get into it. And so with a lot of conversation about trials, the first thing to note for PvE fans is that Bungie have suggested there will be a handful of new Pve Pursuits inside of Season of the Worthy, but French community manager Epion did add that Season 10 is not PvP oriented, and Trials of Osiris will be one activity among others, and he points out that that isn't part of the Season Pass, and of course that is free-to-play content. And also on the subject of that seasonal content, Luke Smith teased the new artifact, which Cosmo confirmed is indeed the sword that we can see on screen. So probably not literally a sword, but more of the theme of the artifact. And it also seems very likely that we're going to have a bunch of sword focus mods in the artifact, since Bungie are also making some significant sandbox changes to how swords work, so that could be interesting. But the image that Bungie have teased does appear to hold some clues. So the panel shown in the artwork is actually the same control panel from the Anomaly PvP map inside of Season of the Worthy. And this is pretty significant because the Anomaly itself was a Golden Age discovery made by the Technonauts who occupied the lunar colony, and those are the same folks whose bunkers have become lost sectors in D2. On top of this, the research site at the Anomaly was called K1. But the Anomaly itself is actually what you find in the middle of the map and is covered in this protective shroud. However, within, the Anomaly was described as a black sphere by the crew who actually discovered it. And then much like the pyramid ship and the associated artifacts, the Anomaly was actually known to cause hallucinations, nightmares, and members of the crew even reported physical manifestations, and they believe these to actually be linked to that Anomaly, so that's why they covered it in the green cladding inside of the bunker that we see today. But it's commonly theorized that the black sphere inside of the Anomaly could be linked to the pyramid ships or the unknown artifact from Shadowkeep. And this is where Rasputin comes into play potentially, because it would appear that Rasputin has a keen interest in this Anomaly. And famously, Rasputin did drop a warsat on a Titan who tried to break in, so there's definitely a link there between what's been going on the moon and Rasputin. Maybe Rasputin's been protecting us or somehow disabling the pyramid ship or some of the other technology in the Anomaly. And it's interesting as well that we could learn of that role to play, especially when you consider the question posed by Osiris about which side Rasputin stands on. Of course, this could very much answer that question. But regardless, that is some of the backstory associated with the Anomaly and Rasputin, and also with the prominent placement of the panel in the artwork, and with various different nodes. Personally, I'm going to bet that the Anomaly and this panel could actually be part of the next big secret quest, mission, or community challenge. The same terminal is present on the D1 version of the map, but in D2 it is completely different, updated in line with that key artwork, so I'm going to put my neck out and call the Anomaly puzzle right now, but we'll wait and see. Otherwise, on the subject of potential Warmind content, of course Bungie did preview the return of the Year 1 Trials gear, but at the same time we do see the opposing Guardians with what does appear to be some kind of Warmind themed gear potentially, so we'll have to wait and see how we get that stuff. Now though, to round up more content info, it would appear that Trials is getting its own title. And what other title would it be other than Flawless? So we can see RXBNG right there with the Flawless title. And inside of the trailer, we literally get one frame where it's actually visible, but it is there. And once again, considering that Trials isn't actually seasonal content in itself, it's entirely possible that there will be another title for Season of the Worthy itself for that core seasonal content. When it comes to unlocking Trials though, DMG confirmed that there will be requirements to unlock the mode, and you can't just make a new account and jump straight into Trials, so considering we won't have to play through any particular Season of the Worthy content to get into Trials, since Trials is free to play, that probably means there will be other quests or things associated with actually gaining access to Trials for the first time in D2, so could be something that we get access to as soon as the season starts, but otherwise it could be a quest as part of the kind of launch process for Trials on the 13th of March. Bungie did confirm yesterday that they are disabling artifact power inside of endgame PvP modes, and that includes Trials and Iron Banner. But for the sake of clarity, Cosmo did say that this will only affect artifact power, and artifact mods will still affect gameplay, so any of the new mods in the artifact for Season 10 will still work in Trials, it's just that the power bonus you get from the artifact essentially isn't going to make any difference inside of that mode. After looking at some of the UI in the Trials trailer, players were curious about the specific mode, and Cosmo also confirmed that it will be 3v3 elimination, so it isn't going to be survival or anything funky like that, but the classic elimination mode. Moving away from trials though, and swiftly onto weapons for Season 10. As we discussed on Tuesday, it does indeed look like the 4th Horseman exotic shotgun is coming back in Season 10 as well, so I'd say from the various images, we can see the wooden stock with the same geometry, and this is the weapon that you can see on the Warlock's back. It's a pretty huge shotgun, but then you have the matching grip, and there are even the 4 barrels on the weapon as well, so by comparing images of 4th Horseman from D1, it seems pretty clear that it's going to come back. And in D1 the weapon came with the bonus Thunderer, where the weapon can be fired in full auto mode, but also return to sender, and kills with the weapon had the chance to grant bonus ammo to the magazine. And the weapon was famous for deleting a few bosses with the right modifiers on, so it'll be interesting to see how it performs in Destiny 2. But otherwise for Reprise Weapons, in Luke Smith's Director's Cut update, he confirmed that Bungie aren't planning to bring faction rallies back, or to indeed update the factions for the moment, but instead, they will be reprising faction armor into the legendary loot pool, and so that should also mean Armor 2.0 versions of that gear. However, DMG did add that some faction weapons will return, so Luminosity tweeted, "Bring back Dire Promise with random rolls," and DMG said, "Okay, see you on the 10th of March, along with a few other faction weapons. Dire Promise will be found in legendary engrams," so of course he's also confirming random rolls on these weapons. And following that, of course, players were asking, well, what other weapons are we getting back? So DMG did say he doesn't have the full list to reference at the moment, but the team was excited to get the weapons out. And there are a few weapons from each faction, but feel free to let us know which ones are your favorites. Maybe they'll appear in a future season. And so the return of faction weapons is at least going to give us a few drops to chase down once again, and potentially some pretty nasty rolls on some of those weapons as well. Of course, we know that some of the faction armor is coming back, but DMG does add that he doesn't know if ornaments will work, so I'll keep you posted if we get details about that. But when it comes to trials weapons, we have seen what appears to be a doctrine of passing, or a weapon that is at least very, very similar, and otherwise, many of the weapons use nearly identical models to the Year 1 Trials weapons in D1, so of course they have minor modifications and the new kind of skin theme for the weapon. I think they look alright though, and personally, I do like the original Trials gear enough that I'm not going to complain about getting it back in D2, but be sure to let me know what you guys think down below. Now though, with that stuff out of the way, let's do some general roundups. And Bungie pointed out some upcoming resolved issues, so tower travel loading times will be returned to normal, and these changes are what we'll get as part of the Season of the Worthy March update, which is update 2.8.0 on March 10th, but also the Prime Attunement buff will once again show up on new characters after previous character deletion, and then the Pigeon and the Phoenix lore will become available again to those who earn the lore, and players who acquire Bastion in later seasons will be granted all Pigeon and Phoenix lore. On top of this though, the Empty Solstice of Heroes gift message from Tess will no longer show up. Cosmo also pointed out that the team have learned a lot from the Empyrean Foundation event and will take the feedback given to apply to future events, and so it sounds like Bungie probably are going to do similar things in the future. But of course, with a bunch of different sandbox adjustments announced, Bungie spoke about ability tuning just the other day. Cosmo did say that we're always hesitant to make changes to things that you have spent a lot of time earning, but at the same time, we'll always strive to make changes to keep improving the health of the game, and the team believes that changes to snipers and grenade launchers are necessary to give other weapons a chance to be more viable choices. But of course, then we heard about little things like the Fighting Lion buff, where its rate of fire has been increased from 72 to 90 RPM, and direct hit damage in PvE is now 35 where it was previously 27. And as a very general recap right here, of course we heard about sword changes, a new energy system for sword ammo, but then with abilities, we've got Warlock melee changes, increasing that melee range, a nerf to handheld Supernova, a reduction in the power of barricades for Titans, as well as throwing knives for Hunters. But also Bungie stated changes like removing Bright Engram purchase, quest log changes, and these all better categorized quests, and of course we'll experience that almost instantly, bear in mind the likelihood of certain quests being required to unlock trials as well. And so we will get patch notes for that stuff, but presumably this week coming, we're going to have a bigger reveal for Season of the Worthy content specifically, where we'll learn about the kind of PvE pursuits, more of the general theme and content for the season that we'll get around and outside of trials, I suppose. So hopefully that's going to be pretty awesome, and be sure to stay tuned here on the channel, as I will be keeping you posted as soon as it drops. But for today guys, that's all the stuff we've got to speak about in the video, so if you've enjoyed this one, feel free to give us a like rating down below, it does help us out a lot on the channel. But also, if you want to keep up to date with the news, guides, and everything related to Destiny 2 as we head into Season of the Worthy, then be sure to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so I can keep you up to date. For now though, thanks a lot for tuning in. Let us know your thoughts on all of the reveals we've had in the comment section. But otherwise, I hope you guys have an awesome day.